want to make this vlog be the video I wish existed when we planned our trip to the Great Barrier Reef. Specifically, I want to share with you how to sail to Lady Elliot Island. Yes, it will be a vlog, but sprinkled throughout will be all the useful information we've discovered. Everything from mooring balls to island permissions and curfews. So come with us as we visit Lady Elliot. We are the McKays, and this is Firefly. Join us as we journey to 100 islands. We weren't always planning to go to Lady Elliot. Everyone on the internet said that Lady Elliot is great to fly to, but Lady Musgrave is where you go if you are traveling by boat. Lady Musgrave has a calm lagoon that has an entry channel perfect for sailing into. However, that channel is lined by balmies, coral so close to the surface that it can rip your boat apart. This means that you need to go to Lady Musgrave in good weather, when the sun is high in the sky and when the tide is just right. In other words, you have one window per nice day to make it into the lagoon. How do you feel about going to Lady Musgrave tomorrow?
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, it's supposed to be really good. They've got a lot of pelagic fish there, which of course, if you don't know what pelagic fish means, it's the fast fish at the top, like barracuda and tuna. I just learned that about 1 minute ago.
All right, it's been decided we are leaving like right now. Well, no, in a few hours. It looks like it's gonna be really bad weather to go to Lady Musgrave. And so we might have a window tomorrow, which means we have to leave like at 3 o'clock in the morning. So we're going to bed right now and maybe we'll wake up close to Lady Musgrave. The weather was looking pretty grim, but we had a deadline because my sister and brother-in-law had traveled all the way from Canada to go to the Great Barrier Reef, and we were going to make this happen. Look who's come to visit me! My sister and her husband! Woo-woo!
And me!
All the way from Canada to Australia. You already have your Australian shirt on.
Already.
You got it from Costco.
Got it from Costco in Brisbane.
You like to go places that have Costco's, don't you?
Of course.
It's like Hawaii, Australia, those are the kind of tropical places you like, right? But then our plans for the Great Barrier Reef came to a crashing halt. I have no idea what just happened. We left for Lady Musgrave as planned. And then it got super, super rocky. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be the craziest crossing of our life. And then the next thing I know, we're right back where we started. We're back in the river in Burnett Heads. Like, what is going on? Sadly, bad things were going on. Oh my goodness, you're not going to believe what happened. Oh, so as we were leaving the river, right as we were entering the ocean, where the river meets the ocean, where it like churns up, like all the currents start going crazy, the port engine went out. It just failed. And so then we lost control and we almost totaled the boat. And so then Dustin said, and he turned around the boat and we safely got back to where we had been anchored before. So thankfully, I mean, nothing bad happened, but there's not another good weather break this entire time that my sister is here.
So the port engine failed. It was fine and idle, but as soon as I pushed it forward, it failed because the fuel pickup, it has a little mesh screen about that big on it. And the reason they do that is because you can get something called bug in the diesel. But they have a big filter that has about 80 square feet of filter media in it, big centrifugal filter, and that filters everything. And that's kind of more what you should rely on anyhow. And so that little small pickup filter had gotten clogged. So I had to take apart that diesel tank and pull that off.
The weather looked like it was never going to clear up to let us go on our adventure. So we called the commercial Lady Musgrave tours to see if they could take my sister. But the weather was so bad, even the captains of those powerful yachts would not make the journey. It's all about the weather. And I I hate the thought of letting her down and my brother-in-law down. Oh my goodness. It's just so sad. And I just have major anxiety when I let people down, which I know is not healthy, but it's almost like I have FOMO on behalf of other people that I feel like I have responsibility for. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know what's gonna happen. I guess you can't force things on a boat. You can't force the weather to go the way that you want it to go, and you can't force the boat to work properly when you want it to work properly. But I was just so hoping that while my sister was here, everything would work out perfectly. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, they flew all the way here to go to the Great Barrier Reef. And now I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to go to the Great Barrier Reef. You can't really make plans when sailing. You can only have tentative ideas, and the weather makes plans for you. And your job is often to find alternatives that suffice until the weather grants permission to you. So we were stuck in Burnett Heads, which is right next to Bundaberg in Queensland. If you saw our last video, you'll see that my family fell in love with Bundaberg, but I felt responsibility for my sister's happiness and was worried that a sleepy Australian town wasn't what they had spent thousands of dollars to see. But they made the most of it. This is not the Great Barrier Reef, but it's lovely. My brother-in-law is a birder and spent a few afternoons capturing all the beautiful birds Queensland has to offer. When I went along, I discovered a love for birding myself. It's almost like meditation to be among nature, looking and listening to find these amazing feathered friends. They also went out of their comfort zone to experience the crazy creatures that Australia is famous for.
Up around, right?
No, hurry.
I got it.
Okay, now the other picture, the other camera.
You can't do it? Well, it's only a couple thousand.
I know.
And they're big, the biggest bats we've ever seen.
These ones are smaller than those.
Some of them were the size of a large dog. They're huge.
And of course, we tried to find snorkeling spots since we were missing out on our reef snorkeling.
Oh, it's like a toilet.
It is very satisfying. It was too rough to snorkel, but if you were crazy enough, you could still get in the water. Finally, the weather seemed to calm down, but now my sister's trip was coming to an end. If we went to Lady Musgrave and were confined to coming and going from the lagoon at the perfect time of day, they were afraid they might miss their flight. So a solution seemed to be Elliot Island, where you can come and go at any time of day and night. We had heard that it was a rocky anchorage, but at this point, we were desperate. All right, I am putting everyone to work, including Jeanette and Randy. They're doing the dishes, and we're putting things away. Hopefully, this time we actually get out of the river and make it to our destination.
Is it alright if I...
Are we ready to go to Lady Elliot?
No, definitely not.
Good morning. Today
is the day. We're gonna see if we make it to Lady Elliot, and if Lady Elliot isn't too roly-poly to stay, and if we can actually get a mooring ball. The port engine is working smoothly. That's always a good thing. We're having a great start to our day. None of our navionics seem to be working. Josh did it. He may look like a bum, but he's amazing. He fixed our wind.
He looked like a bum. Oh, thanks.
Look at that, it's working. I'm used to flat waters in Vanuatu, so this is already a lot rockier. I hope my sister's fine. She still hasn't woken up. You want to come over here? Yeah. Actually, once I've grown up, it feels a lot better.
It does feel a lot better, doesn't it?
She's doing it! She may have gotten sick just like me, but she's doing it! It's gonna be awesome. Yeah.
Do I look impressed? I don't feel impressed. These are all of William's treasures that he decided to stash in the sail bag while we were at anchor.
We were wondering where all of our blankets and pillows went, and they all went in the sail bag. William slept in the sail bag and brought up all of his blankets and pillows and put them in there. I'm feeling sick even though I'm in the cockpit. How are you feeling, Jeanette?
Okay, Graham, we've got your rig out. Let's see if it brings us the fisherman's luck.
You might just got millions of fish.
Good.
You obviously can't fish at Lady Elliot Island, but an app called QLD Fishing tells you what kind of fish you've caught and where the fishing zones are. This was a mackerel. Apparently there are different kinds of mackerel, and all I know is that this one was delicious.
Woo! Everyone's bringing in a fish! What do we got, people? What do we got? Woohoo! What is that? Yeah, maybe we should make our boat slimy. Maybe we go faster. Josh, what you doing?
Flying this huge mackerel that mackerel caught.
Oh, sailing, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Oh, now Jeanette smiles. Oh, Lindsay's not even putting on a fake smile. Everybody's thrown up today, and it's actually a really nice, peaceful day. 13 knots, just lots of swell.
At least not everybody was getting sick.
That was the worst crossing of our life. We can see the island up ahead, but the island doesn't really have some kind of like anchorage that's protected. Maybe you and I can go to the hotel. Wouldn't that be awesome?
To get information about Lady Elliot, you need to know that it's in the Capricorn Bunker Group. There are 2 Class B moorings, which means boats 20 meters or less can be held steadfastly in 34 knots. But you don't want to be out there in 34 knots.
Hallelujah, the mooring ball is open. You can't reserve a mooring ball. These are public mooring balls, and here you're allowed to go on them for 36 hours, I believe. And 42 hours. Anyway, thankfully, they only have 2. We were really hoping that they would be open, and they are. Yay!
You can either go to the northwest corner or the southwest corner like we did. The public moorings are blue. There are also plenty of white balls, but they are mostly barrier markers of where not to go. If you're worried about getting an open mooring ball, I suggest you do as we did. Come at the end of bad weather. And even if mooring balls are taken, there's sand at 10 meters just outside the reef. Don't even try to go to the east side of the island. The reef is so shallow it would wreck any dinghy. The island is very strict about boaters calling on Channel 68 to tell them you've arrived at the island, and they'll greet you to make sure you've done so.
So Lady Elliot is a private island and owned by a resort, and they like you to call in on channel 68. It's protected, but it's also private. And they said that it's only open from 8 until 4. We're only allowed on the island from then. And there was a boat that came aboard to like remind us to call, but we've already called.
They even required you to call on 68 every time you come to shore. Reaching the shore on a heavy dinghy can be extremely tricky. First, you need to approach the beach through the 2 white mooring balls that the island boats go through, which are close to the southern mooring ball that we were at. But then, at least for us, the waves can be pretty intense. You obviously can't anchor your dinghy because you'll hurt the coral, and there's no place to tie your dinghy off. So unless your dinghy is light enough to bring onto the shore, you're going to get very wet.
I wish I'd gotten that whole thing.
One person will have to bring the dinghy back to the boat and come to shore another way. This was not super fun. Lady Elliot Island has a curfew of 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. for all private boats. This is probably because they want you out of the way when their airplanes take off, which is the main way visitors come to and from the island. We arrived on the island at 3 o'clock, so we didn't have much time, but after being sick at sea, we wanted land even if it was for a short time. After a day of throwing up, I am ready for a shower. Well, I was hoping for a warm shower, but that was the hottest shower of my life because their cold water is broken.
Well, it's only been 45 minutes on this island, but we have to head back to the boat because it's almost 4 o'clock.
So Maxwell and Josh went out 2 hours ago for 20 minutes and they stranded Randy. Randy almost drowned swimming back to the boat. We think we see Josh on the shore over there. So we called into the resort and asked if they could send out a dinghy, and it was a really rough radio, but the last sentence we heard, oh, here they are, look here. Yeah.
Our dinghy broke down again. This is so sad. Like, oh, I can't even imagine what Maxwell's going through.
Okay, so is this a floating rope?
So apparently it worked. First time for Dustin. He's gonna go pick up Josh from the shore. Like, what the heck just happened? I think it got flooded with gas, and then
So here's everything that happened. So we go over there. There's a mooring, which is awesome. So we're connected to the mooring. I sit with Maxwell for a second. The mooring's safe. We're close to the waves. I go for a few waves. And then after like a few minutes of trying it, it was just dead. Completely dead. And then then the radio's the radio's dead. And then there's no cell service to call you.
Yeah.
So luckily Maxwell was in a safe place. So then went to shore, eventually found someone with a radio. We tried to radio you guys a bunch, somehow couldn't get to you.
Nothing.
So then she radioed Scott, and he took the boat to another boat, and an employee got off, tipped that boat, got Maxwell.
Cool.
So there you go. There's the story.
Yeah, well, I'm
Probably
like,
gonna cost-
I see Josh just sitting relaxed. So then I'm like,
Because I was talking to cute girls.
well, I was like, my concern was.
All's well that ends well. Our dinghy was working and our first day at Lady Elliot had come to a close.
all right, we are packing for a day of snorkeling, and I brought vinegar because we might get stung. They say there's no jellyfish though, but I don't really believe them. Jellyfish don't know how to follow the rules. We got our sunscreen.
Whatever bag it's in.
Yeah, it's in the
I made some cinnamon buns for the guy who rescued us.
So that tow last night cost us $200. He said it would have been free if it had been during business hours, but it was after business hours. It's interesting because a lot of the workers here have been so welcoming to us as boaters, but some are like, oh, why are you even on this island? You're not part of the resort. So, I don't know, it's just different personalities, creates different results as a boater here on Lady Elliot.
This is probably the most likely island in the world where you will get pooped on. Randy got pooped on yesterday.
Lady Elliot is considered an eco resort, and so of course they have solar panels, but I'm sure somebody's full-time job is to get rid of the bird poop because that drastically reduces the efficiency of these panels. Like even that can just take it down so much. Like, yeah.
The resort was interesting. I was expecting a posh, bougie place, but it's definitely more for the nature enthusiast than for the luxury guest. I wanted to capture everything, but we didn't end up flying our drone since you needed written permission to do so.
These birds are so plentiful. I don't know if it's because there's just so many of them or what, but they let you come right up to them. You know that smell at bird aviaries at zoos? That's the smell of this entire island.
Welcome to Australia.
Even guests have to pay for their internet here, but our Starlink worked perfectly while we were there, and we had faster and more reliable internet than the resort. The best shallow snorkeling to see coral is on the east side of the island.
All the resort people are on their excursions, so we are the only ones on this entire beach. Come on, this is the Great Barrier Reef. Isn't this incredible? I'm getting this on because I'm scared of jellyfish. I don't think there's jellyfish, but when I was at Hanauma Bay or whatever it's called in Hawaii, I got stung by Portuguese of war or something. Anyway, it was pretty painful, and this place is like 10 times the size of Hanauma Bay or whatever it's called. So I'm not taking any chances. Is that a moth?
Jellyfish, so I think so you should be a little concerned.
The tide is really low right now, which is not the best for snorkeling because you have to like find a little channel to go through because there's no room on top of the coral, and then you don't want to get trapped or accidentally touch the coral. I would feel so bad if I touched the coral, so then it's like this maze game.
It's so fun!
And if you want to see big aquatic life, it's best to go to the west side of the island.
The first
first time I ever went snorkeling was at the Great Barrier Reef when I was 17. And I thought, oh my goodness, you know, here's marriage, here's having kids, and here's snorkeling. And here I am again with my husband and kids. It's been incredible.
On the west side, you'll want to use your dinghy or kayak to get to the dive sites, but it's well worth it. What is really incredible about going on your own boat is that you are moored over a dive site teeming with amazing wildlife.
Do you guys see this massive turtle? Look at him, he's huge. Big grandpa turtle. I guess it could be a grandma. Just look at those rays, guys. Isn't that amazing? That is a giant manta ray. Right beside my boat. Oh, and that's another one going under my boat. There's two of them. Two freaking huge manta rays.
I saw a manta ray! I was swimming with a manta ray!
Yeah! Aw.
There's a literal snake.
There's a literal snake.
Right next. Sea snakes are really poisonous, just to warn you.
It turned out that our trip to Lady Elliot was truly memorable, and my sister and brother-in-law have even said that it was one of their favorite vacations ever.
We're on the Sunset Cruise. It was $145 per person if you go as a couple on the island. And here they just had a sale fly all the way from Canada. Rent a car, rent a hotel, and then they gotta come on the Sunset Cruise for free. They say that sailing is the most expensive way to get anywhere for free.
So far, we have loved sailing up and down the coast of Australia. Join us next time as we see the famous dingoes and lakes of Fraser Island.
Crikey folks, I have made coconut kangaroo curry.